Hello, everybody. My name is Marla Neufeld. I'm an attorney at Greenspoon Martyr, and I'm the founder of the Surrogacy and Third-Party Reproductive Technology Practice Group. Welcome to the Surrogacy space. And today I have the wonderful, smart, talented owner of Open Arms Consultants, a Florida-based surrogacy and egg donation agency, Souad Dreyfus. Thank you so much for coming today and sharing your knowledge with all of us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'd love to share the surrogacy space with you. It's amazing. I'm so excited.
Thank you. And Souad and I go back to when I first started in this area of law. We've been working together for many, many years. And she really is one of the leading agencies in Florida. It does so much work across the nation with a focus of their offices being in Florida and helps parents really all over the world. And I just want to start off by, I ask a lot of my guests, like, what got you into surrogacy, egg donation, like the whole third-party reproductive world?
Oh my God, it's always the $1 million question, right? Because
Yes.
I had no idea this whole field existed. What's a third-party reproduction? So I was recruited by a fertility specialist into the field and works my way into understanding the process. And that was my first um, introduction, you would say, to the struggle of infertility. Really, the naive part in me just thought that everybody, when they try to conceive, they have a baby and that's it. And then you see this emotional struggle and you see this long journey trying to conceive. And I just thought, okay, I really can do this and add a layer of support that is missing in the clinical setting. And that was how Open Arms started.
Yeah, even and now that I think about it, the name of your company is literally what you just said, like with open arms to help
With open
people.
arms, it was
Yeah,
so important to me. Like when my marketing team was, no, we need to have something with egg donation and surrogacy and, thinking ahead about the organic leads and whatnot. I just wanted to have an emotional, comforting aspect of even the name. Here, we receive you with open arms. This is a safe space for you to just be yourself and have that support that may be lacking in the community.
yeah.
Where everybody is like, you just need to relax and it will happen, or why
Ooh,
not
those are
adopt, or
those are the
all
worst
those
words.
crazy
Just
things,
relax.
right? Just relax and it'll happen. Show me the clinical data behind the relax and it will happen. So,
Yes,
this
exactly.
was important to me. Like, hey, we take you in, we offer you that safe space to just be yourself and let go and allow us to walk you through this emotional journey and we recognize it for what it is. It's tough, it's emotional, it's private struggle, and that money really get it. So that was the reason why I wanted really the word open arms in the name
Cool.
of the
Well, I
agency.
didn't know that. That's so good to know.
Yeah.
And how long have you been have you had your company for with open
We're
arms?
coming on 21 years. I feel so
Wow.
old. 21 years.
Oh,
So it
time goes
means that
by
we
too
must have
fast.
known each other for over 15 years.
It's been a long time. I
Been a
know,
long
like,
time.
it's just lots of babies.
21.
Just between the two of us, we've made a lot of babies together.
I love it though. I love it. 21 years this year. Yeah.
Congratulations. I mean, when
Thank
I
you.
visited your office, both of your different offices over time, like the walls, everybody are lined with just babies and parents. And it's like a beautiful thing to
We love
see.
it. Sometimes when we have staff meetings, we walk by and we just paused the other day and said, since we see these walls every day, in and out, we forget. So now we're intentional about just stopping and looking at these babies and reminding ourselves of why, you have people from all over the world on our wall, and it's just incredible, the
You're
work
going to
that we
need
do.
walls of like a digital screen so it
We should.
rotates. It's no more wall space, you
I
know?
love it. I love
Yeah,
the idea, for real. Imagine that. I love
that's
that.
very cool. And I know that you're based in Florida, but where are most of your surrogates located?
We try to recruit mostly from Florida because it's convenient for our clients. We do quite a bit in Europe, so it's really easy for them, and it makes sense for them to have a clinic in Florida, an agency in Florida, a reproductive attorney in Florida. It's just easier. So we try to kind of satisfy that need for our clients, but again, we remain open to other states that are favorable to surrogacy. So we have a
Right.
diverse number of wonderful women and surrogate moms from all over, really, as long as the
Awesome.
state is, favorable to
Good law.
surrogacy.
Right. And what about for parents? I mean, they're not necessarily always in Florida. And I know we worked on cases with parents all over the world, really.
That's correct. I mean, we have clients from Europe, Asia, and obviously we do quite a bit here in the United States. So it's insane to think that our reach is global and that we're able to touch the lives of people from all over the world. But
Yeah.
obviously we did quite a bit in Argentina, France, Spain. Those are mostly where most of our clients will come from.
And I know just you alone speak multiple languages. So what languages are generally offered at Open Arms to help all these different clients?
So obviously English, and then we have Spanish, we have French, and we have Arabic.
Okay, awesome. Super helpful.
I know.
Yeah, so I guess like if you could just give a little overview, there's so much we could talk about
I
surrogacy,
know.
egg donation. I guess today we'll just talk about with surrogacy, like what's the process of like onboarding a surrogate, what you look for. I know you guys aren't doctors and getting into like the medical fully, but like from an
Yeah.
agency standpoint, what is it you're looking for when you accept a surrogate?
Um, I always tell my clients, obviously, because when they retain us, the first question, there are a couple of questions they always ask. How long is it going to take and how much is it going to cost? These are the
Yes.
famous two questions, right?
Yes.
And neither one of them is really predictable. I always tell my clients we have to kiss a lot of frogs before we find the prince. We get a
Mm,
lot of inquiries, but not all of them qualify. It's the fact that someone wanting to be a surrogate is one thing, but do they qualify to become one? So we look at a few key factors, and one of them is the obviously good mental and health state. We want her to have a good support system, non-complicated pregnancies, has a secure job, financially stable, and really understand the process of surrogacy. The idea is very romantic. I want to help someone. I want to come and save the day, but we're going to almost move into your space with this process. We're going to
right.
take quite a bit of your time and your energy, and it's very important that they do understand that process. So we take the time to break it down and go into psychological screening, medical screening, legal screening. What does that look like? The communication with the intended parents. So it's important that they do have a healthy understanding of what we are about to do.
And I think that's so good that have a careful eye of who you accept because things really can just fall apart if the surrogate doesn't understand the commitment or what's really involved because it's a
And you've
lot,
seen it, and
obviously.
you've seen it in your field, especially when it turned to, a legal issue and a legal battle. And we take great pride in the fact that 21 years in business and knock on wood, no legal issues ever. But that
Right.
takes time. This is not where you compromise. This is not where you skip steps. This is not where you rush, and I really thankfully most of my intended parents kind of understand that, as much as when you decide that you want to do surrogacy, you want it done like yesterday. But
Right.
we're not
I
rushing,
know.
we're not compromising. We have to find the right fit. Otherwise, it makes for a long 9 months of pregnancy, really, when it's not the right mesh between the intended parent and the surrogate, and they're really not like-minded. It shows itself in many ways.
Yes.
And
And I always
it's
say
not
it's
fun.
better to show those true colors early on before anyone's pregnant. It does everybody a favor, but
Right, like what are you gonna do when she is pregnant? And we've been there, but the beauty of being in business for over 2 decades is that we have an eye now for that, and we can assess the red
absolutely.
flag. I always joke about that. We may miss it in our relationships, but we don't miss it in our surrogates. Like a
Right.
red flag is
Right.
a red flag. So, and we also try to explain to the surrogate why this might not be the right fit. Not just you're not the right fit, but why. Let's make sense of it as well.
Right. I think just the more legwork at the beginning just benefits everybody in so many
Waves.
ways.
Absolutely.
And
100%.
then once you have a surrogate on board and in your, database, what's the matching process like between a parent and a surrogate? Like how does Open Arms facilitate that, very important kind of awkward meeting and match?
Exactly. So it piggyback on on the question that you just asked, but the screening process, the idea is to find people that are like-minded. Okay. Do they see eye to eye when it comes to big issues? Do they see eye to eye when it comes to abortion for abnormalities, how much contact they want with each other, not only when the surrogate is pregnant, but also after she delivers? Just those things are very important in kind of ironing out prior to going into this process. So we take a long time kind of like addressing what the surrogate needs are from the intended parents and match her with someone that fits those criterias. And then we bring them into a Zoom meeting so they can have a chat. It's not a Q&A, it's more of a casual conversation to see if
Yes.
the energy is there, the vibe is there. Do they feel comfortable with one another? And oftentimes those match Zoom meetings, they're either awkward and it's not the right fit, or they
Right.
are very emotional where everybody's crying and or
Oh,
it's really a lot of laughter and everybody's clicking.
yeah.
Just had one recently and it was amazing. Usually they're about 45 minutes to an hour. It went for an hour and a half and
Oh,
we were
wow.
not stopping it. We're like, just keep going. It
Yeah.
led a little bit into politics and they saw eye to eye when it comes to
Oh,
politics as well.
that's
So it was
good.
like, okay, let me just take the back seat here. Because usually we try to kind of like guide the conversation so it's not so awkward.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful when it takes a life of its own and it just flows. And all of a
Yeah.
sudden we're sitting back and letting the conversation unfold. And from oftentimes we give our intended parents 24 hours to kind of like process the
Thanks.
conversation, sit with the feeling, and then get back to us and let us know. Oftentimes, before even the Zoom is done, we love
We're
her.
ready.
I love
Yeah.
them. They're the right fit, and it just feels right. When it feels right,
Yeah. I think there's a lot of instinct in this whole process. And that's
isn't it?
weird coming from a lawyer with things being black and white. But I think like that feeling is like a true thing it's something important to go with and that you
Yeah.
kind of guide that for everybody.
Mhm. But also, that's what I love about you. No, no, no joke, is the fact that you can speak from both sides. You were an intended parent, you know what it feels like, but now you're an attorney. So you mesh those two and your perspective is gold. But
Thank
like
you.
you said, it's a lot of instinct. And we tell them, listen, one, it's a lot of trust and let go. Once
Yes.
you decide, you've got to trust the professionals that are with you, guiding you through this process. But also, if your gut feeling says it's not right, it doesn't have to make sense to anybody else. If it does
Mm,
not feel right, it doesn't feel right. And we just have to
right.
honor that and step back and sit with the feeling and pivot,
Yeah.
but you have to honor your gut feel for sure.
At what point did the parties get into the more hard-hitting topics? Like you mentioned abortion and things like that. Obviously, it's not the first call and nice to meet you. Will you have an abortion? But like when when
Well,
do we get into those?
believe it or not, I do it from hi, it's nice to meet you. Are we doing this? Like
Yeah,
what is the point
I
of
guess cut to the chase.
cut to the chase? But listen, like if you say, hey, I really like her, this is great, we're gonna have to start with her screening, her psychological evaluation, medical evaluation. So most likely this conversation is going to come up again at legal, but by then you have invested so much in her financially and
Right.
emotionally that you're torn between going with those views or not. So we really try to go like, okay, it's an hour conversation. So we give some room for the hi hellos. Why do you want to do this? We really appreciate you for doing that. And then we go into like, okay, let's talk contact. What feels comfortable to both of you? Okay, now we know that technology have come a long way and we know that genetic screening is done on the embryos, but God forbid we have to make this decision. Where does
Right.
everybody stand with these? And before going into the match meeting Zoom, because it's a question that we ask both parties in their own profile when they, fill out their questionnaire. We know, okay, they stand here with the abortion. So the Zoom meeting is more of a confirmation to what was already written.
Okay.
So if the surrogate, for example, said, no, there's no way I'm going to move forward with this, with someone who is pro-life and someone who's pro-choice, they're just not the right fit.
Right.
So technically going into the Zoom, we already know where each stand when it comes to
Okay.
these really sensitive topic, ugly, not uncomfortable, but we get them out of the way, unfortunately. And then you get to revisit them at legal.
Yeah. I mean, what you do makes my job easier because when I get the match, all that stuff there's no surprises. I mean, everything's
Yes,
kind of
that's the
arranged.
goal.
The financials are set. We're not, I mean, maybe there's a little wiggles and things, but we're not like reinventing the wheel, and it just makes it so smooth and it really
You know, like,
helps.
everybody gets to legal and it has this rap of it being so uncomfortable and worrisome. So what we try to do is what's uncomfortable really is to talk about compensation and money. We
Yeah,
try
that's
to
what it,
iron all those details out prior so it doesn't become so transactional,
yeah,
right? So we're like, okay, what makes you happy? This is the fee schedule. Are you comfortable? Okay, now when we go into the legal, there's no surprises. You already agreed to this fee schedule. And then it becomes just about small things, language
right,
and,
right.
you know, not
I
quite
mean,
small, they're big, but they're still, the legal language becomes what's important when you get to legal.
yeah, no, it definitely helps the whole process stay as streamlined as and peaceful as possible.
And we learn we've had our fair share of, my God, we get to legal and it's an issue, right? And it
Of
becomes a headache
course,
for
every
everybody.
day is something new. You and I always say, just we're always learning from this process, always adapting. Even if I look at my own contract from my first client to now, it evolves. And
Isn't it?
our practices evolve, which makes it interesting. And you just can't predict. I mean,
Exciting. Like,
we could not have predicted COVID and all the repercussions that affected our industry from that, from vaccinations to the travel, people getting stuck here or not being able to come here. And we just pivot as we go.
that's a whole nother podcast. Like surrogacy and
Yes,
COVID. Oh my God.
I
Imagine that.
know.
Years. I'm like, the trauma runs deep because it divided people
I
bigger
know.
than more so than abortion and,
It
all of
was,
the like sexual orientation, what kind of intended parents you want to work with, more than political views. It was you are either for or against, and there was no in between. And while the parents stood quite a bit firm, most of them on pro the vaccine, surrogates were completely the opposite. And how do you
yeah,
navigate this match happen? So I'm so happy and glad and relieved that that's now
we're
behind
moving.
us.
Yeah. I mean, it really helped though working with your agency is like I couldn't have coordinated all of that with the doctors and the like just having your people on the ground was like invaluable to get these parents through it because you guys have, and correct me if I'm wrong, coordinators for like the parent side
Mhm.
and the surrogates separately, like they all have their
Correct.
own support.
Correct. So there is no conflict and they feel supported and dedicated coordinator just to them to kind of understand their needs and offer the comfort and the support that they need while the other coordinator is attending to their surrogates or their egg donors.
Yeah,
So
it's different. It's
uh,
definitely different needs and questions
yeah,
and things
yeah,
like
for
that.
sure. And you have to, you always have to dance that line of making sure that you're an advocate for both of them. And it's very important to honor both in this process. And it's just one of those delicate dances that we have to do.
I mean, as far as like I know, the matching and the getting through to transfer is like a huge part of your services. But what does Open Arms do kind of after that point through the pregnancy and through delivery? Like, what are some of the other services that are offered to help?
Um, I always say that a good agency not only cares for you during the matching process, the IVF process, the pregnancy, but also what you do once we have a baby. So, one, we make sure that the intended parents are comfortable in the role now. They have a child, they have a baby, and we want to make sure that they're international or not, that they have all their paperwork in order, obviously, with your help. They have the resources that they need. We shift to escrow, make sure everything is in order there, make sure that we have all the funds that we need still for the post-birth. We make sure that the insurance, life insurance, health insurance, the surrogate has to continue that coverage for a period of time, depending on whether she delivered via vaginal or C-section. So we have to make sure that the insurance is in place. We follow the surrogate into her post-op visit, which usually happened about 6 weeks after the birth, and also emotionally that she's comfortable and she's okay. We always look at the contact that these two had, and most of the time it will drop a little bit once the intended parents now are parents and have a baby. So the contacts won't be as intense as it used to be. So we try to step back in with the surrogate and fill that void
Oh, that's
so she doesn't
nice.
feel so left out, or so we kind of walk her through that and make sure that she's comfortable. And usually we follow everybody almost into 3 months post before we felt
Awesome.
like, okay, everybody's comfortable now. The parents are good, escrow is in place, insurance is done, surrogate went to her post-op. Um, and we're kind of out of the woods because you really never out of the woods until the surrogate go for her post-op visit. And we know that her
Right.
uterus is shrinking and going back to normal. So I would say almost 3 months post-delivery is when we feel like our job is
Yeah,
somewhat
I'm glad
done.
you
And we still
mentioned the
have the
post-birth because that can easily get overlooked. Like the parents have their baby and their hands are full, but there's still like a woman who just went through so much and still has medical care. And that's what I like
right.
about like with your open arms' terms is like the money still has to stay in escrow to also protect her because we can't just like have the baby and say, see ya, everyone go home. There's
And
like
we had that. Why do we have insurance now? She already delivered. I'm sorry, but you're still financially exposed if anything happens to her. We can't
right,
just wrap shop as we can. So sometimes it's a hard conversation with the intended parents, even though you visit that initially and you talk about it. But
right,
uh, escrow still remain open. We still need to continue with the insurance. There's still bills that will come months and months after the
right.
delivery because our
Yeah,
billing system is just way behind. I'm like, the kid will be in high school and we're still getting
right.
billed. So we
Exactly.
still need to kind of manage that and make sure that none of it, kind of affects the surrogate's credit or,
Right.
bring any issues to her that way. So we
Yeah,
definitely
because
do.
these bills, medical bills, are really in the surrogate's name. So it's important that they get paid, the bills get paid timely and there's money to pay them.
Exactly. Exactly.
And just a quick overview, if you could share with everybody, just like we talked about surrogacy, but what else do you do for with egg donors? Just a quick overview of how you help parents or a parent find an egg donor.
So to think that when Open Arms started, it was an Open Arms egg donation first, and then that's how we started. So we did quite a bit of
Okay.
egg donation cycles, and then most of my clients needed surrogates, and they really wanted to stay with us. So we decided,
Oh,
okay,
cool.
let's leap into surrogacy, and that way we're providing both, end of the journey. Egg donation obviously is not quite a bit as hand-on as surrogacy. It's a quick process if we can find the right candidate that you're looking for. So you grant the
Right.
intended parents access to the database, but then you help them navigate that process. There's a lot of, I think it's very emotionally charged in a different way, not to be
Yes.
able to use your genetic material to conceive a child. So we try to kind of like sit with the intended parents and offer them the help they need, including like counseling, not us, but our resources for counseling. What is that? Make sure that you are at peace with using an egg donor. And then we talk about what it is that you want in your egg donor. Some of my intended parents are really wanting a physical resemblance. Some don't really care about that, but they want, education, healthier background, this and that. So we try to sit with them and understand what they're looking for. And then we find the right surrogate egg donor and oversee the whole process, just like we do with the surrogacy process. We do offer our intended parents the option to know their egg donors. So we do
Okay.
offer known egg donations, semi-known, and obviously anonymous, which the majority of them would be anonymous oftentimes.
I'm curious, what kind of photos do the parents get of an egg donor? Is it adult only or
Yeah, so
child?
we try to give them again all of the years going from baby photos if we
Oh, cool.
can into teens, definitely obviously adults. If the donor has a child, we try to get
Oh,
what
that's
her
cool.
children look like. So kind of give them an idea about what the donor physically looks like in all of those stages.
Awesome. And at what point should an intended parent contact Open Arms, like for surrogacy or egg donation? Like, when's a good time to reach out to you?
With egg donor, I mean, obviously, the minute you find out that you're not able to conceive any other way but using a third party, I think it's time for at least research and kind of understand what does this process look like. So that's going to be an immediate thing because also age is not in our favor. So if the process takes too long, it's so hard because you have to move fast, but then you want to give them the space to process all
Right.
that's happening. So hopefully by the time they contact, they have made peace with the fact that it's going to be through an egg donor and kind of, again, we sit with them on that and figure out what does that look like for them. With a surrogate, just because of how long it takes to recruit a surrogate and the matching process, that needs to be almost immediate once you decide that it's what
Yeah.
you want to do, because it's a lot of time goes into, it's like the hurry up and wait, right? So
Yeah,
we have to make sure that we give time for recruiting and screening, finding the right candidate. And once you find her, the actual screening of this candidate takes a while, and then you're going to leave room for the possibility not to be a Debbie Downer, possibly of a failed embryo transfer, and all that takes time. So,
right,
when people come, they think it's 9 months pregnancy and 2 months the
right.
IVF process. It takes us 2 months just to get the pre-approval sometimes. So
Yeah.
it's very, very lengthy process. And again, when you decide that you want to do surrogacy, you feel like time is important and you want to do it fast. But unfortunately, it's a lengthy process and it just takes time.
And I have clients who sometimes don't have embryos just yet, and they wonder, is it too soon to reach out to an agency? And your position from what you're saying, it seems like no, like gather
No,
your information,
no.
get the
And that's another thing. When you have a surrogate mom, the first thing they ask is, do they have embryos? So I could love you as an intended parent, but not having an embryos ready means that I'm going to have to wait at least another 2-3 months where I
right,
could possibly be pregnant by then. So they definitely favor someone that has embryos ready. And if it's going to take you 2 to 3 months to create them, use that time towards your wait time to find
right.
a surrogate. So if it takes us 6 months to find a surrogate, now you're shaving that time down to 3 months by the time we have embryos, and hopefully less.
Yeah.
So definitely, if you know you are going to be using a surrogate, even before you have embryos, I would suggest that you start talking to agencies
And I know just from the
Mhm.
people that I've sent to you, like you're happy to speak to someone, even if they're information gathering, like just
Yeah,
because you never know when you're going to start or what your path is going
exactly.
to be, you know?
Oh, I love that. I honestly love that. I actually just talked to a client about 2 weeks ago, and I followed up with her, and she said that she needed some time. And while she's taking some time into the new year, her question is, what can I work on while I'm waiting? And I
Hmm.
told her, because I saw that the Zoom with her was very emotional. So I said, maybe counseling. Let's just
Hmm.
sit with the idea of that support, that emotional support that you're in need, that you might not find in your friend or your family member. Talk to an
Right.
attorney, understand what the laws are, look for an escrow agent. Just there's so much that can be done for you to feel, okay, I'm ready
Right.
to take the next step. So while she's doing that, and she hasn't even committed to me, I'm happy to be a support. I've had even people that came to us with their own surrogates, and they're like, okay, well, this is working and she's a family member, but I just want to know A, B, and C. I'm happy to offer those resources to
Oh,
them
it's good to
just to
know.
make sure that they're doing it right. And
Right.
I think it's just fills me with joy to know that they're going on the right track, even if they don't
Awesome.
hire me, right? Because there's nothing better than a good word of mouth out there in the industry anyway. So it
Yeah.
all circles back to
That's so nice to hear. And it leads me to my
um,
last question for the moment is how can a potential surrogate parent, anyone being a surrogate or an egg donor, what's the best way to reach out to you?
yeah, absolutely. You can reach out. My email is Souad, which is SOUAD at openarmssurrogacy.com. Donors, surrogates, intended parents, questions, we're more than welcome to help any way we can.
Awesome. And we will be happy to share all your information on the podcast notes so that we can get the word out about your wonderful services. And I thank you so much for joining me today and for all the amazing work you do to help parents, surrogates, donors alike. And I love working with you, and it's just a pleasure to have you today.
Thank you. This is the highlight of the week. I got to see you and share this space with you. I
Very
love you
nice.
so much. You're amazing. Keep up the good
Thank,
work.
thank you so
I'm
much.
excited to hear all about the next episodes as well.
Yeah, tune in, be a subscriber to the
Yes.
Surrogacy
Oh,
Space.
I'm in. I'm there. I'm there.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Suad, with Open Arms Consultants, and we'll definitely be speaking very soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much.